It's past midnight in a Michelin-starred restaurant. The fridge's hum, stainless steel reflects the low amber light, and I'm standing alone, staring at a tray of half-finished chocolate work, holding a spoon I didn't even realise I'd picked up. Not to taste, not for artistry, but because my hands wouldn't stop shaking until I just got one more hit. After 13 years as a pastry chef, the Ritz, the Berkeley, luxury hotels, endless sugar, this was the moment I finally realised something. I wasn't in control, and I hadn't been for a very long time. People think addiction looks dramatic, but sometimes it looks like a man in a quiet kitchen taking tiny bites of ganache because his brain won't let him walk away. And that night, for the first time, I asked myself a question I'd been avoiding for years. What if it isn't me? What if something else has been running the show? What I discovered after that moment changed everything. My health, my career, my identity, and it led me to the 48-hour reset that freed me from sugar forever. But before I show you the method, you need to understand what sugar actually does to your brain. Because once you see it, you'll never look at cravings the same way again. And there's one critical mistake that almost guarantees you'll fail. I'll show you exactly what it is in a moment. For more than a decade, kitchens were my whole life. Precision, control, perfection, except the one thing I couldn't control was myself. My anxiety was constant, like electricity under my skin. My ADHD felt unmanageable. My mood crashed daily. And to steady myself, sugar. Always sugar. I thought I was weak. I thought I just needed more discipline. And then my dad got sick. A man who ran 18 miles a day, ate the healthy high-carb diet everyone recommended, and slowly deteriorated into type 2 diabetes and Lewy body dementia. Still, I didn't make the connection. Not until after he passed. That's when things snapped. I started researching, late nights after 16-hour shifts, looking into metabolic health, insulin resistance, and even neurochemistry. And everything pointed back to one truth I didn't want to face. Sugar was altering the way my brain worked. Not emotionally, not metaphorically, literally chemically at the receptor level. So I did something insane for a pastry chef. I quit sugar completely. And within 48 hours, my anxiety disappeared, my focus sharpened, the constant mental noise I'd had since childhood was silent. It felt impossible, supernatural even. But it wasn't magic, it was biology. But what actually happened in my brain during those 48 hours wasn't what I expected. And when you understand the real mechanism, you'll see why this works for everyone. Let me show you exactly what sugar does to your brain and why removing it creates such dramatic changes so quickly. Number one, dopamine, your reward system. Sugar hits your dopamine system harder and faster than most people realize. When you eat sugar, your brain releases a massive surge of dopamine, the same neurotransmitters that get released with cocaine, alcohol, and every other addictive substance. This feels amazing in the moment, but here's the problem. Your brain adapts to protect itself. Every time you spike dopamine with sugar, your brain responds by reducing the number of dopamine receptors. It's called receptor downregulation. And it's your brain's way of saying, this is too much stimulation. I need to dial it back. So now you need more sugar to get the same reward feeling. And everything else in life starts to feel less rewarding by comparison. Food tastes bland, activities you used to enjoy feel boring, you lose motivation for everything except the thing that spikes your dopamine. Sugar. This is why people think they have no willpower. But it's not willpower. Your brain's reward system has been chemically altered. When you remove sugar completely, something incredible happens. Within 48 to 72 hours, your dopamine receptors start upregulating again. They begin to recover suddenly. Normal foods taste amazing. Simple activities feel rewarding again. Your natural motivation returns. This is the first reason the 48-hour transformation feels so dramatic. Your reward system is finally coming back online. Number two, serotonin, your mood stabilizer. Now let's talk about serotonin, the neurotransmitter that regulates your mood, your sleep, and your sense of well-being. Here's what most people don't know. 70 to 90% of your serotonin is actually made in your gut, not your brain. And sugar feeds the wrong bacteria in your microbiome, creating chronic inflammation that disrupts serotonin production. So you're not just getting mood swings from blood sugar crashes, you're getting chronic depression and irritability from gut inflammation that's interfering with your body's ability to make serotonin in the first place. Sugar also creates artificial serotonin spikes that crash hard. You get this temporary euphoria followed by depression, irritability, and intense cravings. It's a vicious cycle that keeps you reaching for more. When you remove sugar, your gut microbiome starts healing within days. The inflammation reduces dramatically. Your natural serotonin production stabilizes. And this is why people report such profound mood improvements so quickly. Their brain is finally getting the steady supply of serotonin it needs. Number 3, GABA, your calming system. GABA is your brain's brake pedal. It's the neurotransmitter that calms anxiety, helps you relax, and allows you to feel peaceful. Sugar disrupts GABA receptors, creating this horrible state of chronic restlessness and anxiety. You feel wired but tired, calm but agitated. It's this constant low-grade panic that never quite goes away. And here's the trap. Sugar temporarily boosts GABA, which is why you reach for something sweet when you're anxious. But the more sugar you eat, the more you disrupt your natural GABA production. You're creating the very anxiety you're trying to escape. When you remove sugar, your GABA receptors start healing. The chronic anxiety fades. You can actually feel calm without needing to eat something. Your nervous system finally gets to rest. Number 4, brain insulin resistance, your energy system. This is the big one that most people have never heard about. Your brain has insulin receptors, just like your muscles and your liver. Your brain needs insulin to use glucose for fuel, but when you constantly spike insulin with sugar, these brain insulin receptors become resistant, just like in type 2 diabetes, except it's happening in your brain. When your brain becomes insulin resistant, it can't use glucose efficiently anymore. This creates brain fog, memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and those horrible energy crashes where you feel like you can't think straight. But here's the beautiful part. Your brain has a backup fuel system. When you remove sugar and eat enough fat, your liver produces ketones, and your brain can use ketones for fuel without needing insulin at all. Ketones are a cleaner, more efficient energy source. They produce less oxidative stress, they provide steady energy, and they don't require the insulin signaling that's been damaged by years of sugar consumption. This is why people report such dramatic mental clarity improvements. Their brain is finally getting clean, efficient fuel again, after years of struggling with damaged insulin receptors. Now, there's one critical stage in this healing process that almost everyone misunderstands, and it's exactly when most people relapse. I'm going to show you how to navigate it. Here's exactly what happens in your brain when you quit sugar, hour by hour, day by day. Hours 1 to 24, the crash. Your brain panics, dopamine plummets, you feel irritable, anxious, and maybe even depressed. You might get headaches as your brain adjusts to using different fuel sources. This isn't weakness, this is withdrawal. Your brain is literally going through the same neurological process as drug withdrawal. Hours 24 to 48, the shift. This is where the magic starts. Dopamine receptors begin upregulating. GABA starts stabilizing. You might notice the first glimpse of mental clarity, like a fog lifting just slightly, but cravings are still intense because your brain is still experiencing its regular dopamine hit. Days 3 to 7, the awakening. This is where most people feel the dramatic transformation. Brain insulin sensitivity improves, ketone production increases, the fog lifts significantly. Sleep improves because your blood sugar isn't crashing in the middle of the night. Anxiety reduces as GABA rebalances. Energy becomes more stable throughout the day. Week 2, the stabilization. Serotonin production normalizes as gut inflammation reduces. Mood swings disappear. You start feeling emotionally stable for the first time in years. Food cravings decrease dramatically because your reward system is no longer hijacked. Weeks 3 to 4, the clarity. Full ketone adaptation occurs. Brain fog is completely gone. Focus and concentration return to levels you may not have experienced since childhood. Energy is stable and consistent. You stop thinking about food constantly because your brain is finally getting the fuel it needs. Months 2 to 3, the freedom. Zero cravings, complete emotional regulation. Food becomes fuel, not a drug. You've literally rewired your brain's relationship with sugar. The neural pathways that drove compulsive eating have weakened, and new pathways for healthy eating have strengthened. But there's one critical moment in this timeline where most people fail, and it happens at exactly day 10 to 14. I'm going to show you how to navigate it so you don't become another relapse statistic. The number one reason people fail isn't lack of willpower. It's a neurological mistake that happens at a very specific time. Around day 10 to 14, something happens. Your dopamine receptors are healing rapidly. Your brain is producing more dopamine naturally. You feel amazing, better than you've ever felt in years. And this is the trap. You think, I'm cured. I can handle a little sugar now. I've proven I can quit, so surely I can have just one treat. But your receptors are still fragile. They're healing, but they're not fully healed yet. One sugar hit down-regulates them again, and you're back to square one. Except now it's worse because you've proven to yourself that you can do it. The second critical mistake people make is this. They remove sugar, but don't replace the fuel. When you cut sugar, your brain needs stable energy. If you cut sugar and undereat, your blood sugar crashes and your brain panics, triggering intense cravings. If you cut sugar but rely on low-fat foods, you can't produce ketones efficiently, so your brain stays in a state of energy crisis. But if you cut sugar and fuel your brain properly with adequate protein and fat, it works every single time because you're finally giving your brain what it actually needs to heal. Stable fuel and the building blocks to repair those damaged neurotransmitter systems. Here's the exact neurological protocol I use with my clients. The same method that freed me from 13 years of sugar addiction. Phase 1, eliminate the poison, days 1 to 7. Remove all sugar and refined carbohydrates completely for a minimum of 30 days. No exceptions. No, just a little bit. No, testing yourself. Your brain needs to know the drug supply is completely cut off. This is the only way to trigger the receptor healing process. Phase 2, fuel the healing, days 1 to 30. Eat enough protein and fat to support neurotransmitter production. Your brain needs amino acids to rebuild dopamine and serotonin. It needs fat to produce ketones and repair cell membranes. This isn't restriction, it's about giving your brain the raw materials it needs to heal. Phase 3, support the transition, days 1 to 14. Hydration, electrolytes, movement, sleep and sunlight. These aren't optional. They directly support the neurological healing process. Dehydration slows ketone production, lack of sleep interrupts neurotransmitter recovery, movement helps clear metabolic waste from the brain. Phase 4, guard the critical window, days 10 to 14. This is when you feel amazing and want to test yourself. Don't. Your receptors are healing, but still fragile. One hit can reset weeks of progress. This is the most dangerous phase, and most people don't even know it exists. Phase 5, lock in the new wiring, days 15 to 90. Consistency creates permanent neurological changes. Every day you don't spike dopamine with sugar, you're strengthening your natural reward system. Every day you fuel your brain with ketones, you're reinforcing healthy metabolic pathways. This is where the transformation becomes permanent. If you're struggling with cravings, crashes, or feeling completely out of control with food, you're not the problem here. Sugar changed the way your brain works, and you can change it back. The science is clear, the method works, but you need the right roadmap. I've created a free community called the Sugar Reset Community, where I walk you through this exact process step by step. Inside, you'll get the 48-hour brain reset framework, the complete timeline with what's happening in your brain at each stage, troubleshooting guides for when cravings hit, and support from people who are going through the same transformation you are. It's completely free to join, and the link is in the description below. Your brain wants to heal. Sugar addiction isn't a character flaw, it's a neurological hijacking. And once you understand the science, breaking free becomes inevitable. And just to let you know, I'm rooting for you, and I'll see you in the next one.